Yeah, boom, I want to do another video. This one is going to be on the entire emotional spectrum that you can have whenever you are going through and taking trades and what you will experience uh, and kind of some of the events that will lead you to having those feelings in the first place anyways. But I have some things written down here, and I'm kind of going to just read off of this little tab that I have of all the emotions that I kind of marked out that, I feel or have felt while going through these, and kind of some steps to be able to help you guys avoid these. And, really with these feelings and things that you'll feel throughout, when you're taking setups and when you're in trades. Uh, Most of that stuff still happens to me this day, but it just comes down to, are you going to act on it? And before you get into the mode of your daily sit down at the charts, start marking things out, start going about your trading. You need to make sure 100% that you are in the right mental space to be able to look at these charts and analyze and kind of just operate like a robot. You need to be able to remove feeling and replace it with a checklist that will be able to, check off, did this get hit? Did this get hit? Did this get hit? Did this get hit? Okay. If it did, then enter. And that's just all you need to be executing on. Otherwise, even when you do execute, something that looks really, really good could start to turn in your head and turn into, oh, it didn't actually look that great, or oh, this wasn't a perfect thing. This is why this failed. And sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it is, you saw it, you executed on your strategy, and that is what you need to keep inside of your mind and your head, that you executed well. But it's only going to come after you have certain repetitions and after you get a bunch of back testing with your strategy in, that you'll have the confidence to be able to say, this is exactly, like this is exactly how my strat performs. I know that these are the stats. I'm not worried that this is going to turn into a recurring thing, but it can really mess with your head if you start looking at these setups and try to judge everything if you do it fully correct. There is the point where you can judge yourself if you're not really advanced and you're not had the time on these on the charts before. So if you're in any of that stage, just beginning stage, it's okay to look back and say, this is what happened with my strat. But once you get a bunch of repetitions in, these fear is one of them, but all of the emotions that you feel, you'll still feel them, but you have to consciously think about them and say, would I be mad at myself if I reacted based off of this emotion, and then price went up to my TP, or price came down and stopped me out? It's part of the probability, whatever. you know because reality is, you're not going to learn without putting up shots in this game. You're going to lose a lot, and it's okay to, once you start to start seeing these patterns and start to know that you have this probability and that you are going to perform well, then you can say that was just a drop in the probability bucket. We're going to say, you know another trade tomorrow, we just go on with the next day. That's literally all it is. But let's get into number one. And this is what I said earlier, but fear is probably the most experienced thing that I feel on a daily basis, but try not to act on. So it can come with, price starts moving towards your stop loss. You start to get a little fearful. You're like, oh no, my mind, it's attached to, losing a dollar amount that's on the screen. But for most of you guys, you'll probably be trading on prop firms, and you need to know that, this isn't real money. This isn't real. Everything is just simulated. So, you know, you can get it out of your head that, you're going to lose like maybe $100 if you lose the account, but, it's not real money, and they give you multiple tries for a reason. So, you know, being that it moves towards your stop loss, you should be okay with seeing it in the red, because that is the breathing room that you gave for the trade to execute. So other times when we can feel fearful is when you're on a string of losing streaks. This happens to me most of the time, where you start to lose confidence in yourself, because you're like, brother, I haven't seen a win in this long. Like, what is going on? I'm getting fucked constantly here. And then it starts to get in your head where, you're like, oh, is this really working? Is this actually going to, play out this time? Is this actually a decent setup? It's like, yeah, you saw this setup 100 times, so take it again. You just lost on the last couple. Put up another shot on board and just see what happens, brother. It can come with, using improper sizing. If you size into your trades too aggressively, or you start to size up after you've lost a little bit to try to win it back, that can be another time when fear kicks in and just says, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. This is your subconscious telling you, you shouldn't be increasing your lot size. You should be sticking to hopefully a 1% risk management. And we'll go over risk management and prop firms in the next video, I believe. But you can be fearful when you're prematurely exiting before your price hits your draw on liquidity. And this can cause you to miss out on, the actual move and money that you should have made from the trade in the first place. But, you were too antsy to get out of the trade, and then it ends up playing in the way that you actually wanted. So, you need to set a stop loss and a take profit and just let them play out and just see what happens. Doesn't matter if you're going to lose an extra, $50 or $100, you need to see the trade out. It's going to be what it is. You can have hesitation when like actual setups form, like I said, that'll be comes from, if you're on a losing streak or if you're unconfident in yourself, but that's kind of what that is. Okay, next one I want to talk about is going to be greed, and that can be directly related to, fear. I said earlier, if you get out of something way too early, then you can be fearful of losing the profit that you made. But if you try to go for way too much, or something that's not achievable, or a drawn liquidity that doesn't seem reasonable for the day, then that can be greedy. You can be not taking the right trade, and you're wanting to squeeze more out of it. You're not going to be able to hit a 1 to 4 RR every single day, unless you're doing backflips and you got the best strategy in the world. But realistically, you should be aiming for 1 to 1s, 1 to 2s. That should be realistically where your targets are set at, and you let the probability play out and act as your mediator. Yeah, you can have greed when you watch price displays heavily towards your direction, and then you say, oh, it's going real fast up to where I originally marked out. Maybe I can squeeze it for more, and maybe I can move it. No, bro, you're retarded. You're stupid. You should be looking to manage risk and maybe take off your position at that point. But you shouldn't be looking to extend full take profits. You should be looking to take partials, maybe move stops to break even, and then have a couple other targets at those other draws if that's the case. But that's terrible. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, you can try to catch like a huge RR trade. That's pretty greedy. Yeah, pretty much that normally results in your winning position that you would have taken, and you would have taken out of that draw to reverse back to stop loss or reverse back to break even. And then what do you know, bro? You took a trade that played out and then ended up coming back to haunt you. Okay, number 3, we have overconfidence and that feeling of overwhelming euphoria. This can be caused by a win streak that you have opposite to a losing streak. You can successfully pass like an eval or something, and maybe that makes you feel like you're the shit and you got it all locked down now, and you can take whatever you want. Gives you kind of a false sense of you having the entire market figured out, which, brother, sorry to tell you, you don't. And then this can cause you to maybe abandon your sizing rules or your risk management. Your lot sizes and sizing is inflated. Trades can be forced in this time period where you're like, yeah, I know this is going to play out. I'm going to hit this. I don't even need to wait for my other confluences to hit. Brother, you're going to get humbled real fast with that type of attitude. I'm going to tell you right now, because that is something that we all experience. But you need to bite this in the ass as soon as possible, and not be feeling way too overconfident about your trades and whatnot. So that's 3 for overconfidence. Number 4, we have FOMO, or the fear of missing out. This is caused by watching a price delivered towards a target before your entry criteria is hit. I sat out today. during the market, and I didn't feel really too much FOMO anymore. I don't feel it really when I'm watching these candles play out, but you know, I watched it play out towards my draw on liquidity. Didn't give me a good enough RR entry, so I sat it out. It still delivered, and then I watched it deliver back down all the way down to my original targets to the downside today with no entry. So I never entered it. But you know, fear of missing out could have caused me to, you know, get in at the very bottom, and then, you know, God forbid price wants to have a little reversal before it comes back down and takes out that draw. And overall it was the correct thing, but we didn't wait for our entry criteria, so we got stopped out before we could even, you know, have an entry criteria to take it down to our target. If we're doing that, then we're completely avoiding and throwing probability out the window, out over our shoulder, and we're just saying, you know, I hope this goes, and then the wind blows me in the right direction. I'm hoping so. So that is just a terrible mindset to have. You should not be doing that. Number 5, we have revenge trading or frustration. When you're, you know, taking a loss, or you know, a setup is not performing, you know, and you take a trade that hits your stop loss, then you know you're like instantly wanting to feel like you can get that money back, or get that amount back, or you know, not want to end the red for the day. You're gonna be, you know, revenge trading, revenge looking for, you know, the best setup for that day, and you know, it might not come, it might not actually come, but you know, your mind might be so enraged and so caught up in the fact that you just lost that, you know, it's like, I need anything and everything right now to be able to get me back to break even, or you know, get that loss back, because your brain is so attached to the dollar amount that you just lost, and it's seeing that on the screen, and it's like, wow, I just lost this amount of money, you know. And that's the exact same mindset that, you know, gamblers will have, and then they'll try to get the money back, and they'll just end up even worse. So don't be one of those people. You know, take a sound setup, and then, you know, make sure you're allocating your risk properly, that if you need to, you can maybe take another trade, or just sit out for the day if that's something that presents itself, and then not get the fear of missing out while that thing plays out that you saw. Doesn't matter, you can always go back in it tomorrow. You know, one piece a day, one trade a day is what you're going to want to stick to, really. You can have anxiety. That can be number 6. We can have anxiety. It can be caused by, you know, maybe looking down on the, you know, 1 minute chart, and then analyzing everything from there before, you know, we look for our setup criteria. And, you know, you can see the P&L fluctuating as you're maybe in a trade, or, you know, that's all I can think about right now, but you can see these 1 minute moves, and then you see, you know, price start to head down, or have a little retrace candle, and then you start to get the anxiety of like, oh no, it's not going to play out, it's not going to work. And then you can end up micromanaging like stop loss, you can end up micromanaging your TP. All these things can happen, and you feel anxious because you're like, oh no, I was up this amount, and now it's come back down, and I'm now not up that amount anymore. It's that feeling of, you know, of loss that actually didn't happen, but you know, it was just your P&L fluctuating. This happened to me literally last week too. I think I took a setup where I got break evens, but you know, price came down to my first draw, I hit break even, didn't scale out of it, and then it came straight back up to break even. And you know, I was a bit anxious that that was going to happen, but you know, it played out in the way that, you know, I can manage, and you know, it can drop into the probability bucket of, you know, not having a loss but having a BE trade. So another thing you can have is number 7, boredom or impatience. This is the absolute killer. This is the worst. You can have prolonged market consolidation, or weeks where, you know, things are just not delivering, and you just feel like you need to take something. And this is the absolute worst, because your boredom will take over, and you will start to look for anything and everything in your mind to, you know, I need to take this. I have evals to pass. I have, you know, profit targets to hit. I have all this other stuff in my rule book that I need to be taking setups for, and you know, you're probably just going to dig yourself in a worse hole by having that mindset, instead of just saying, you know, if something is not leaping at the screen and punching me in the face, then why would I even consider it? You know, can be caused from, you know, yeah, I think I said all this. Boom. Okay. And then number 8, you can have hesitation or, analysis paralysis, where, you can overanalyze things on every single time frame, and, maybe you're looking at the 4 hour and the 1 hour, and, some things are not aligning, but, you have this gap up here, and maybe you have, it hit equilibrium, but on the other index it didn't, and, maybe it might go down and on this index, and maybe it might go up on this index, and, you're hesitating because you're seeing all these different things that don't actually matter towards executing, when you know your exact execution criteria, you know where you need to be looking, and you're just this can be paired with having fear from like a losing streak, or this can be paired with uh, you know paired with a even a winning streak at this point, because you can be really overconfident, but then you can be hesitating where you're like, oh, I need to keep this winning streak going, or oh, I'm in such a bad loss streak that I need to wait for the perfect thing. I need to wait for the perfect thing, and all your things lined up, but you're just hesitating because you don't think that it's actually going to work out. When you've seen this 1,000 times, you can relate and see that this type of thing normally works out when you take it before, or this thing is part of your strategy, so why wouldn't you take it? Okay. And then number 9, the last one that we have on the list, is going to be regret. This can be caused if you manually close out of your position early and panic, and then you watch price reverse, and it starts to go towards your draw on liquidity, and then you're regretting, and you're saying, why did I do that? I need to be back in. And then, maybe somebody that is brand new might re-enter right up here when, their original entry was right here, and they closed up here. They re-enter right here with a stop loss that's like not even close to where it was originally. It's all the way down here, and it's now up here, and then price comes down and hits it. What are we doing? What are we doing? We had an original good idea of where my market was going to go. We're not taking multiple things a day. We need to be focused on the original draw. And if you manually close out of the position, that's something that you need to work on. That's something that is bad for your mentality. You need to be setting stop losses and take profits at the specific points where the trade idea would be invalid, and you need to be setting your TP at other high time frame draws on the liquidity where price is going to be magnetized towards, and maybe it might take a little bit more time than what you were expecting, and maybe price is consolidating before it gets that move back upwards. Then what are you doing? It's like going into a hockey game, and a dude takes a slap shot from center ice, and then the puck is like flying down the ice towards the net, and then somebody just throws a stick out in front of it when it was perfectly on course, and boom, it redirects the puck, and now it's gone. And then you can't really retake that shot again, because it's not going to be the same trajectory, it's not going to be the same thing. You can't retake it. Just leave it in the past if that happens. But it's something that you need to work on mentally. Okay? Hopefully this explains the entire emotional spectrum that you can go through, and really the only way to manage some of these things is to get shots up on board, and have prior experience, because what is this all in the end of the day? It's all pattern recognition. So what do we need to be doing? We need to be recognizing patterns, and we need to be able to react based off of what those patterns have told us in the past. So you need to be able to learn and adapt from your backtesting strategy data that you get, and we'll go over how to do that in some of the later videos. But you need to be really, really just honed in on your live market experience too, because these things are going to play out, and these feelings are going to arise, and you're not going to know how to deal with them if you haven't dealt with them before. So we're going to start on that demo account that we got you guys set up on, and you're going to take live executions in the market, and be able to feel these experiences without actually risking any of your own capital. So that's the beautiful thing. You don't have to do anything, but you can still be learning in the process of that. So hopefully you guys learned from this video. Hopefully you guys understand all the emotions that you can feel, and hopefully you guys get to experience some of these and nip them in the butt as soon as possible. Make sure that you're journaling these when you're taking things. We'll go over how to journal, I guess, as well. That'll be in the maybe the last video, I'll go over everything that we need to go over and be successful for, you know, moving forward and moving along with our journey anyways. So anyways, peace out. Thank you for listening in.